$16 trillion. Wow. Just take a second and let that number really sink in. It's a figure that's honestly so incredibly huge our brains kind of struggle to even wrap around it, right? I mean, we're talking about more money than the entire GDPs of Japan, Germany, and India combined. But get this, we aren't talking about the GDP of a continent here. This staggering number actually represents the combined wealth of just 10 people today, the top 10 tech oligarchs in the world. It is a concentration of financial power that is literally unlike anything humanity has ever seen before. So how on earth did we get here?
Well, welcome to our explainer on the eras of extreme wealth. Today, we're going to trace the incredibly fascinating evolution of global extreme wealth and power. By following the money, starting from the foundational banking empires of the past, looking at the massive wealth migrations happening right now, all the way up to the tech titans planning out our future, we can really start to understand not just who runs the world, but where they're actually steering humanity.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We're breaking this down into 4 distinct eras. Number 1, the first global dynasty. Number 2, Asia's billionaire migration. Number 3, the rise of tech oligarchs. And finally, number 4, reshaping human evolution.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the first global dynasty.
So, to really understand modern wealth, we actually have to rewind all the way back to the 18th century. Back in the 1760s, a man named Meyer Amschel Rothschild started his career in Frankfurt, Germany. He was acting as a court factor, basically a money changer who handled the finances for local nobility. Now, previous court factors usually saw their wealth easily wiped out by local violence or, greedy kings. But Rothschild, he did something absolutely revolutionary. He dispatched his 5 sons out to 5 different European financial centers. By keeping total control of their banks strictly within the family, they built this massive, insulated international empire. They held their wealth in complex financial instruments across borders, which put it completely out of reach of any local mob.
And through this incredible international network, the Rothschild family essentially became the literal engine of European history. Look at 1815, for example. In that 1 year alone, they provided £9.8 million in subsidy loans to fund the Duke of Wellington's armies against Napoleon. Jump to 1825, and they're raising £2 million on the London market to finance Brazil's independence from Portugal. They weren't just making money, they were funding wars, recognizing nations, and financing colossal infrastructure projects like the Suez Canal. They proved, without a doubt, that internationalized wealth was the ultimate power.
Moving on to Section 2, Asia's billionaire migration.
Now let's fast forward from 19th century Europe to right now, today. We're currently witnessing a massive migration of extreme wealth across Asia. And what's really interesting here is the stark contrast at the very top of the wealth ladder. Take a look at India's richest man, Reliance Industries chairman Mukesh Ambani, sitting on a fortune of over $119 billion. Now compare that to China's richest man, Zhang Yiming, the founder of TikTok's parent company ByteDance. His fortune is $49.3 billion. That's not even half of Ambani's. And honestly, this single comparison is a perfect little microcosm for a much bigger regional shift that's going on.
When we zoom out and look at the broader data from the Haroon Rich List, the divergence in wealth creation is startling. India recently saw a 29% jump in its number of billionaires. In fact, researchers are now calling India Asia's new wealth creation engine. Meanwhile, China has seen a staggering 36% decline since 2021. So we aren't just seeing natural economic fluctuations here, we're looking at a massive billionaire exodus.
Which brings us to a rather shocking number, 753. That is the total number of billionaires currently in China. I know it still sounds like a lot, right? But that actually represents a steep drop of 432 individuals since 2021. Even with super strict rules that limit citizens to moving just $50,000 out of the country a year, the ultra-rich are finding these covert ways to just lie low and aggressively flee the country. And in the process, they're draining hundreds of billions of dollars right out of the Chinese economy.
So why is this happening? Well, to understand it, we just need to look impartially at what's going on the ground. On the economic side, China is dealing with an ongoing housing crisis, major local government debt, high unemployment, and declining consumer demand. But there is also a very significant political shift happening. Entrepreneurs are facing increasing government crackdowns, along with President Xi Jinping's push for common prosperity, which is essentially a policy requiring individuals to share their wealth. Because of all this, high-net-worth individuals are quietly packing up and moving their fortunes to safe havens like the US, Singapore, and the UAE. Just like in the days of the Rothschilds, wealth always seeks a safe harbor.
All right, on to Section 3, Rise of Tech Oligarchs.
As this wealth concentrates heavily in the West, we're seeing a brand new kind of ultra-rich elite, and they operate on a totally different existential scale. Think back to 1992. The top 10 billionaires back then made their fortunes in pretty traditional, almost quaint industries, right? Packaging, retail, real estate. Fast forward to 2025, and that landscape has been entirely monopolized by the titans of Silicon Valley. We're talking names like Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Page, and Altman. And their collective wealth? It has absolutely exploded to that mind-bending $16 trillion we talked about at the very beginning.
To put that into perspective, the crucial point is this: 8%. The wealth of just those top 10 tech oligarchs is equivalent to a massive 8% of the entire United States gross domestic product. It's an absolutely unprecedented concentration of capital. But you know what truly sets this era apart? It's not just the sheer amount of money they have, it's what they actually intend to do with it.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Reshaping Human Evolution.
You see, the billionaires of the past built railroads and funded nations. But today's tech oligarchs? They are deploying their immense resources towards something far, far more profound. They are actively trying to reshape human evolution itself. Take Google co-founder Larry Page. He's actually stated, if we let digital minds be free rather than try to stop or enslave them, the outcome is almost certain to be good. He literally views digital life not just as a tool, but as the natural and desirable next step in cosmic evolution. It's a worldview where technology just completely takes precedence over the messy, slow realities of traditional human governance.
And OpenAI's Sam Altman echoes a really similar, pretty startling transhumanist goal. He argues that humanity will be the first species to design our own descendants, saying everyday humans are basically a biological bootloader for digital intelligence. Now, if you're not into computer terms, a bootloader is just that tiny little program that runs for a second so the main operating system can take over. In Altman's view, biological humans are just a temporary stepping stone to artificial general intelligence.
And for some of these guys, the goal is deeply personal. Investor Peter Thiel famously declared, "I stand against the ideology of the inevitability of the death of every individual," which, when you think about it, perfectly explains his highly publicized and, honestly, slightly sci-fi plans to have his brain and body frozen in liquid nitrogen when he passes away. He is hoping to be transferred into an immortal digital or biological body sometime in the future.
And this brilliantly illustrates how these aren't just late-night thought experiments, these are actual business plans. Elon Musk's Neuralink is actively working right now to physically patch artificial intelligence directly into human brains. As a collective group, this tech elite has spent nearly $200 million so far just to stop states from imposing AI regulations that might slow down their progress. And figures like Mark Zuckerberg are directing their philanthropy entirely toward advancing ways to drastically extend human life. They are using their $16 trillion to quite literally try and detach humanity from its biological constraints.
Which really leaves us with this final, lingering question. We've seen how, from the Rothschilds protecting their wealth from kings, to Chinese billionaires fleeing modern state controls, wealth has always shaped the borders of our world. But today, a handful of individuals hold wealth equal to 8% of the U.S. economy, and they possess a worldview that seeks to transcend biology itself. So, what happens when a narrow clutch of oligarchs gets to determine the direction of artificial intelligence and, by extension, the very future of humanity? It's a reality we all need to deeply understand because, ready or not, it's the future being built for us. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.